Good evening, everybody. Hope all of you had a wonderful Christmas with your family and friends. Welcome to another edition of We Inspire. Joining me today is Mr. Deepak Rajmohan, CEO and founder of GreenPod Labs. He's also a food scientist who quit his job in the US and came here to India when he discovered that India loses 40% of all food produced before it actually reaches the consumer. I'll let him tell the rest of his story. So, welcome, Deepak.
Thank you so much, Noah. Thanks for the opportunity. Really appreciate. Would love to explore and discuss more.
Of course, Deepak, of course. So before we go into any of the questions, let's address, the first thing I think just to bring some context into the story. So can you
Okay.
explain to us what a food scientist is and what he or she does?
Yeah, would love to. So my background, so I did my master's in food science. So being a food scientist, what you primarily do is every product, every processed product, what you eat and consume every day, one or a couple of food scientists has been involved with that. Be it your bread, be it your chocolates, be it your chips, whatever products you're consuming every day. There's deep R&D into it. So as a food scientist, I understand the ingredient functionality, how protein, carbohydrate work, and what technologies you need to use to develop a chocolate or chips or whatever that is. So from idea up to like getting it to your hand, the food scientist is involved for every packaged product. So that's what I did back in US. I was working for a baby food company, so where I was developing new products for babies and toddlers. So that's primarily my job, and that's what a food scientist does.
All right. So we have you to thank for all the processed and packaged food that's coming to us. So
For
thank you.
sure, yeah. Not just me, but with the community of the food scientists. Yeah.
Of course, of course. So, okay, so let's go into some of the questions. So, I have to say it's not an easy decision, most especially an Indian who's living abroad, who has a comfy job. It's easy to settle into the job and not, come up to a decision that says, I'm going to quit my job, go back to India, start a business. But you did that. So, how did you come to that decision? I expect it wasn't an easy one. At the same time, how did you come to the idea that you can actually make a change?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. No, I think primarily even before going to US, I really wanted to do something in India. And when I went to US as well, I had the clear vision of like I want to work in US, get experience, and then move back to India to do something meaningful. It was a matter of like when and what you want to do. That was the question always. The question was never that are you going to go back or not. The question was more like when are you going to go back. I think the decision was hard at the point because I was having a really good job. I loved what I was doing. The team was amazing. I was getting paid really well as well. The
Yeah.
comfort zone was amazing. All the sophistication, everything what is needed. But some point I just felt like I want to do more impactful work. And the statistics on food waste, like just on the sheer number and the economic losses on the food waste was staggering for me. And that was the reason why I felt like this is a problem which has to be solved, and it has to be solved now rather than next 10 years or 20 years. So that made me the decision to move back, and I felt very scary at that point. My family and everyone were scared that moving back without any cushion or any of that side. But I just took the plunge, and I'm been enjoying it right now. So the motivation was more like solving this problem rather than just starting a company.
Excellent. That sounds very inspiring. So can let's move on to another question I have in mind. That is, okay, you've taken the plunge, you decided to come to India. So now that you're here, can you talk about what your company does? How you plan to solve this problem? Because it is a big problem. When you say 40% of the food produced in India, is lost before it actually reaches the consumer, that's a very serious problem. So, how
Sure.
do you plan to solve this?
Sure, sure. Yeah, definitely. So just not the 40%, but the economic loss is like $12 billion in India alone every year. It's a massive, massive losses. So our primary focus has been to minimize the losses in fruits and vegetables. That seems to be a problem throughout India, and that is a problem for other developing countries as well. So we are planning to develop products for that. So the first product what we have developed is a packaging solution, biotechnology-based packaging solution, which can extend the shelf life of fruits and vegetables during transport and storage. So every time a fruit or a vegetable is transported from farm to a consumer, there's a lot of losses happening. Let's take a banana for instance. Banana, when it's harvested in a ripe stage before it reaches a consumer, it turns brown. So what we are using is we are using natural solutions, natural plant-based solutions to minimize that browning, so that the consumers can enjoy the banana at the ripe stage rather than having it lost before it reaches them. So that's primarily what we're doing, and we've been doing this for 1 year, and we primarily work with B2B customers like your retail stores, your e-commerce companies, and all distributors and stuff. So our primary focus is on that.
Another area I wanted to focus on is that the COVID pandemic has affected business not just in India but all over the world. Have you faced any challenges, and if you did, how did you overcome them?
Yeah. No, yeah. So we, since we were pre-revenue, so we didn't have a huge challenges with the financial side. Thank God that that was not the case. But we did have challenges in terms of like ingredient sourcing. So we currently source ingredients from outside India. So we source from Germany, we source it from other countries as well. So that was a struggle for us during the COVID time. Getting those ingredients from other than India was a challenge. That was the first biggest challenge. The second challenge was we were not able to access our labs. So we were using external third-party labs to produce our product and test the product. During the COVID lockdown, we were not able to use that lab, and that was a big challenge as well. So we had to find new strategies to adapt to this. So what we started doing is when we started getting ingredients, we started procuring them in large quantity and then storing them in-house so that we don't have to rely on external supply chain every time. So we started bulking the ingredients. That's one. The other side is for the lab access, we set up a small lab in my home, in our so-called garage. We've set up a small testing lab so that we don't have to go out and rely on outside labs. We can do majority of the work in-house. So that's been the pivot, and also working with remote team. That was a challenge initially, but we were able to manage that by meeting often, discussing the points and stuff. So yeah, so major these are the challenges, but we were able to navigate that well.
Sounds like you were able to adapt to the situation, which is the biggest, biggest way to accomplish these goals, especially during
Yeah,
these challenging times. So hats
exactly.
off to you guys. So moving on, you like you said, you were working with the company, so you were an employee. So can you
Yeah,
tell me what the journey was like from being an employee to now an employer?
yeah. No, yeah. It's definitely a huge journey, I would say, from being an employee to being an employer. So being when I was working as a food scientist, my team was very straightforward, like R&D, and I had some leadership, but my skills and tasks were very limited to product development and R&D process. So I was not involved on other business side. Moving from there, moving to an employer where you're not just involved in the product development, but you're involved on every aspect of the business, starting from talking with customers, getting on customers, hiring people, compliance, regulations, and working with investors. Every segment you just have to handle because you're the founder and CEO. That's been quite a lot of learning. The learning curve has been very steep. I was able to gather more information by reading books and talking with other founders and getting insights from them as well. That's been helpful, and also the responsibility. So the responsibility of being an employee is way less than the responsibility being a founder, because everything relies on your hand. And even though you have a strong team, our team is like amazing, and they are able to do it. But the responsibility on the founder is so high. So managing those two, managing the learning and managing the responsibility, has been a journey, and it's definitely been exciting for me.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I can actually hear that in your voice when you tell, when you recount your tale. But, I have to ask, how much time passed from the time you heard you decided, okay, I'm going to quit my job, I'm going to go home and I'm going to start a business, to the point where you actually did it? What was the, time, how much time it took?
Yeah, yeah. So I think October of 2018 is when I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I felt like that seems to be. So I had about 5 ideas, and I was thinking of which one to choose. March of 2019, I chose that this is the idea what I'm gonna pursue, solving the food waste problem. And then from there, I quit the job in April 2019, and then moved back in May 2019. So within that 2 months, I quit the job and then moved back. From there, I took a couple of months to travel different villages to talk with the farmers, to talk with the distributors. So September of 2019 is when I officially started working on the like solutions. So since then, we've been like progressing really far. So I would say one year to 1.5 years is what it took from us to from idea to what where we are right now.
That's very remarkable, Deepa, because it's one thing to think about the ideas and think, plan this out, but you did it in under a year. So very remarkable, and of course you have to have a certain amount of focus and discipline to do that. I can only imagine. So hats off to you for being able to achieve that.
Thank
Uh,
you.
and I think it's an inspiration and a message to everyone watching also. If you have a dream or if you have a passion, it's not just about taking a chance on it, but it's also having
Yeah,
a definite plan to achieve it. How
yeah,
it's also about timing, steps involved, using your skills. There are a lot of things that go into it. So
yeah.
hopefully this is going to inspire a lot of people.
Sure.
So moving on to another set of questions is that, can you talk about the services you've taken with Vakilsearch?
Yeah, so we've been using Vakilsearch for more than a year now. So initially, your team helped me set up the company, so register the company and set up all the process. That was the first service I used. From there, I've been using GST and compliance services. And recently, I also started using Vakilsearch for our RBA process. So we got a foreign direct investment, and to process that RBA process, Vakilsearch has been useful for that.
All right. So was your decision to register as a private company as a result of planning to secure funds for future funding?
Yeah, so private limited, we wanted to register definitely for funding reason, and also so bringing on new investors, it's better to register as a private limited, and also like we want to bring more team members. So the team members we want to also give stocks and shares. Even with that, being a private limited is better.
Got it. So as we come to the conclusion of this interview, can you talk about some of your future plans?
Definitely, yeah. We have a lot of ambitions to go around this company. So our next 1 year plan is going to be launching 5 products in the market, primarily focused on fruits and vegetables, minimizing the losses on fruits and vegetables. In next 5 years, we want to minimize the food waste by 50% in India. That's one of our mission, and that's what we run towards. And we want to develop other innovations and technologies for other products, not just for fruits and vegetables, but for milk, meat, and all sort of other produce and agriculture products to minimize the losses. So we wanna be a full stock solutions for any food waste problem. So that's our ambitions, and that's what we are running towards.
Well, from all of us here at Vakil Search, we wish you the very best. Thank you for joining us and for sharing your story with us. Take care, Deepak.
Thank you, Renan. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, Renan.